career destiny. So I always say that don't mock things that your ancestors did or wore. Why do we have this huge revival right now? Fashion has not just become just about what we wear anymore, right? People are thinking fashion 360 degrees. I saw some really interesting use of shapes and furniture and accessories. And I know that all of you have to study this as a foundation. The biggest challenge all of you will face is when you go into the real world, is when you're going to be challenged with what level of compromise are you willing to make. And it is that compromise between your idealism and the commercial bottom line. And those of you who are willing to hold your course, of course you have to choose your battles, but hold your course, keep faith in what you believe in, and with a little luck on your side, those are the ones who are actually going to ultimately succeed. So as a dancer, I always say that if I was not a stage performer, I would have been a fashion merchandiser, because I adore fashion. And whenever I travel anywhere in the world, I always go to the local markets. I never go to the boutiques. I never go to the malls or whatever they call the branded shops. I go to the local market and I'll go and buy local craft. Something not just from my home, but something I can wear, like these, bangles from Africa. I'm just back from there. So I got a big Maasai necklace. It's not that I need to wear them all, although I do wear dramatic theatrical clothes, because I just feel that I like my fashion sense and my on-stage and off-stage sense to reflect a level of confidence of who I am today in this world. And because we live in a world that's so fueled by youth and speed and greed, and it's your generation that is really the inheritors of the future, many of your generation have very little respect for my generation. And so when I step onto the stage, my question really is, what do I have to say? What do I have as a mature woman? What do I have to say that's going to perhaps interest somebody else to watch? And what I have to say will have to be something that a 25-year-old cannot say. That somebody who has not lived my life cannot do. You cannot imitate. And that's exactly what I want you to all keep in mind. What do you have to say through your work? What are you trying to say? There are fashion trends, and we are all already doing pret lines and couture lines, and we're doing spring, summer, fall, but we have 6 seasons in India, not 4. We have the monsoon, and we have extreme heat, and we've got this. We've got these 6 seasons. We also have, if you look at just dance, we have the architecture of dance. You're looking at architecture. What are the shapes of Bharatanatyam? Bharatanatyam goes in curves and lines and angles. And Kathakali goes in full body curves. And Manipuri goes with legs together because they wear the sarong, and it's all upper body movement. And so you can get inspiration from anywhere. What I'm trying to say is you can look at movement and architecture even from dance, even from classical dance. I mean, I saw a project about masks and the moods and the 9 moods. And what I want to say to go beyond that is each of those moods in our Sanskrit text has a color. And each of those moods has a color, and each of those moods has a presiding, some iconography. And all of you know about, all of you now, how many of you do yoga? Whether fad, fashion, health. Okay, not as many as I would have expected if I went to the West. There, every hand will go up. Okay, so when you do yoga, there is something about prana, right? Breath. That's also about prana. Well, when you're even looking at the idea of the chakras, say within the body. I'm talking of the human body because you are all looking at clothing that human body. And these are all the various ways that you can look at getting inspiration. We have the 7 chakras, part of Kundalini, part of yoga. Each of those chakras has not just a physical location, but it has a color, it has a mood, and it has an iconography that goes with it. So we can look at many, many different ways of seeking inspiration. We can look at the simple idea of the lotus. But the lotus is not always about peace. What you see is the lotus that grows above the surface of the water. Do you know the muck that it grows through? So what is below the water? So when you look at a motif or a symbol, you've got to look at it 360 degrees. And you've got to look at not just the beautiful, but even sometimes the ugly. You don't need to use the ugly, but you need to have the knowledge of that. It's like the idea of good and evil that exist within the same space. It's the idea of the yin and the yang, the idea of the universal and the personal. I mean, it's all part of the way we live. I don't think in any other society in the world that young girls like you can wake up in the morning, wear your jeans and kurti or a t-shirt, go to college, come back, suddenly go wear a bindi, change into your salwar kameez, go to the temple or come back, change into something for a shadi, a wedding, and go with your parents. And we do it seamlessly. We don't seem to have a conflict today in urban India. It's all about just being who we are. We have stopped thinking in terms of this is Western clothes, this is Indian clothes. Yes, I do agree that a lot of us don't wear saris as much as we do. But have you thought about the history of the unstitched fabric and why it is so special to India and Asia? It's that piece of unstitched fabric, no matter how long it is, a newborn baby is swaddled in that. And later on it can become a bed, we call it a tuli, that the rural women hang from a tree. Or it can become a pagdi, or it become a half sari, it become a dupatta. It can become the sarong, it can become the tunde. And finally, after your last breath, it's an unstitched fabric that covers the body. So there's so many ways that we can look at traditions and reinvent them. So my advice to all of you, and I'm so happy to see that men are really getting more and more adventurous with, with their fashion sense in India, pinks and reds and purples and everything. Of course, I know that today, the film industry is really driving and influencing a lot of young people in fashion. And it's quite good. I mean, a lot of them have really created trends, and not that it suits everybody, but we can look at fashion from everywhere. And I always say, if you can travel, get out of the cities and go into smaller areas. Like I just saw some Santal women near Shantiniketan in West Bengal, and they're just beautiful. And the way that they use color is so effortless. The color that I mean, where else can you blend a lime green, a fuchsia, and an orange, and a yellow? Which I don't know, I mean, these fashion pundits in the West might agonize over, this gray is the trend for this, or chocolate brown. Instead of getting trapped into those kinds of cages, the idea is to really seek the kind of inspiration that just every day an Indian woman can, conjure up. Women from Bihar or Jaipur or, in Kerala. And see why it works. And how all of you can continue to get inspired. As I said, your geography is your history. And the more you know about your geography and your history, the more it will serve you as you all become globalized Indians. So I want to thank you all for really asking me to be here to share some of my thoughts. I'm very happy with a lot of the things I saw, and I see a huge amount of potential. But I see a lot of potential in all academic spaces in India. The challenge is, as I said, is when you leave the safe havens of these rooms, of these classrooms where you could really dream and you can afford to fail and make your mistakes and correct yourself, is when you step out in the real world. It's a cutthroat world out there. And in India, the ethics in the fashion industry is very low. There's a lot of stealing, there's a lot of plagiarizing, there's a lot of cheating. You'll have to deal with it. The business side of it, the people, you better get real with that. And you better tell all the rest of the graduates what happens. We're still fighting copyright things in India. We're fighting all these things. But we're getting into a situation where you're going to have to protect your intellectual copyright. Because this is all part of the larger thing we call the game of fashion or the game of life. So I want to wish you all the best. And I hope to see some of your names in the marquee in the coming years. Thank you. As a result of my many, many years of travel and collecting wearable art, I actually collect wearable art, usually from Japan, Korea, sometimes Germany. There is an exhibition that's opening this Saturday at the Upper Rao Galleries on Khadar Nawaz Khan Road. It's called the Sartorial World. It has several of my own personal collections of wearable art. very dramatic coats and huge drapes and shawls and costumes, and my own personal wardrobe that is going to be on display for a month, along with the gallery owner Sharan Apparau's collection of old heritage textiles. So from September 10th to October 10th, you're all invited to drop in to the Apparau galleries and to just see what two women who are collectors in their lives and have done and put this collection together. So I'm welcoming all of you to go see and send in your comments.